Daryl Morey put off absolute highway robbery by bringing in Trendon Watford this offseason. Watford has been the perfect player the Sixers have needed on their roster, and Morey got him on an absolute steal of a contract. On today's show, we're going to break down just where Watford has helped this Sixers squad and why he really has been such a good value signing for Philadelphia. Real quick, before we break down Watford's game and this great move by Daryl Morey, Sixers facing off against the Celtics tonight, already the third Sixers-Celtics matchup of the season. We will be live on the channel for a watch party of that game, so come hang out. It's a great time. We all get to watch the game together. Of course, live play-by-play analysis, and you get to interact with other Sixers fans. It's a great time, so lock us in. Hit that sub button. Turn on your notifications. That way, when we do go live, you will be notified. So let's get now to Trendon Watford, who, of course, was dealing with a hamstring injury early on during training camp and in the preseason. Didn't see him in those preseason games or get to see him to start the regular season. But since he returned from that hamstring injury, Watford has really been the exact player the Sixers have needed on their roster really for years now, right? We talk about a guy who can do so many different things with his size at 6'9" and his skill set. It's the exact archetype of player that Philadelphia really has not been able to find over the past couple of seasons. And it's his unique skill set that really is what is able to help this team win games, even if sometimes a box score doesn't always look great. That game against the Raptors, a box score looked fantastic, but always able to impact the game. And where he really helps and why this was such a steal of a signing, right? How he actually impacts the games for Philadelphia. With his size at 6'9", Watford has a really unique skill set, right? Guys that are his size, guys that are this big, really shouldn't be able to have the passing IQ, the passing vision, and the skills from a playmaking perspective that Watford has. And he can run pick and rolls. He has a good handle, right? We've seen him and Embiid run the two-man game from time to time, right? His ability as a ball handler and his passing vision. We talked about it in the offseason where he displayed that at times with the Brooklyn Nets, but it was the Brooklyn Nets, not playing around a lot of other good players. You need to play with good players for that passing ability to really stand out, and I think that's showing out now here playing with the 76ers. And he also is a very good rebounder as well, which of course we know the Sixers team has needed, which has really enabled him to get off to this tremendous start that he has so far this season, playing right around 23 minutes a night, putting up nearly 10, 6, and 4.5, shooting the ball well from the field. Just 4 of 8 from 3, so you see that 50% three-point number. It's unlimited attempts, but, good to see him knocking down those shots. It's a whole other element of his game that we talked about that would really push him to another level, but it's, again, the size, skill set combination and the different ways that Nick Nurse has been able to use him offensively early on. Perfect in the starting lineup next to Joel Embiid, and we'll talk about his future in the starting lineup coming up here in a little bit. And when you talk about his skill set combined with the contract that Daryl Morey was able to get Watford on. I mean, Watford was a guy that, still young, 25 years old, who showed some signs of the Nets, but, didn't get a whole lot of interest in free agency. Morey was able to get him on a 2-year minimum contract, making under $3 million each of the next 2 seasons, right? So they have him this year. Next year, he's on a team option at $2.8 million. I don't know why the Sixers would not want to pick that up. So you get him for this season and next season, a player that's still young, contributes defensively, and has a super unique skill set on the offensive end of the floor that the Sixers have not had in quite a while. And I mentioned that game against the Raptors, really his breakout game this season, where he showed everybody, like, man, yeah, I might not do this every night, dropping a 20-point triple-double like he did against Toronto in 36 minutes, but that skill set is in there, right? I mean, 20, 17, and 10 is unbelievable from a player that you're giving a minimum contract to. Just ridiculous numbers. Obviously, a big reason the Sixers won that game in their first game in the throwback uni, so he was looking good while doing it too. Just a all-around ridiculous performance from Watford. And again, you don't expect this every game. The very next game on Sunday in the back-to-back against Detroit, only 7 points and didn't nearly have this statistical type of a performance, but it's awesome to know that that's in there. And, a 10 assists, 17 rebound, 20 point, just absolutely unbelievable stuff. And this is the kind of thing he can bring to the Sixers from time to time again, even if the stat line isn't looking quite as ridiculous. And, I mentioned with that skill set, the size, the profile, reminds some people, of course, including Joel Embiid, of one Ben Simmons, who, half jokingly after that Raptors game said that performance from Watford did kind of remind him of Ben Simmons. And, I think it's in a good way, right? Obviously, we have a lot of poor memories, and we think about Ben Simmons in a poor light. But the Sixers have needed a guy with that size, with that playmaking ability, who can rebound the basketball. Haven't really had someone like that since Ben Simmons left, and Watford really can be the ideal version, of a player like that. So it was funny to hear Embiid say that after the game. And then Nick Nurse as well said he's just what you call a hooper, man. He's just somebody who goes out there and does what it takes to do to win the basketball game. In such a variety of ways he can impact the game. He's also really good friends with Tyrese Maxey. I imagine Maxey really voiced his opinion and really showed his support in bringing in Watford. And we've seen some early chemistry as well between Watford. Maxey's really given a lot of praise to Watford, especially over the past week, saying, man, he just loves ball. He knows how to play ball. I talk a lot of trash with him because they are boys, but I know what he can do and impact the game. And again, he is still a young player. Now, don't go anywhere. We still got more to talk about when it comes to Watford, because some of what he's been doing as well, making some NBA history, has kind of been the case so far with the Sixers. Tyrese Maxey, VHH coming out, Trendon Watford, making NBA history is pretty crazy. But real quick, before we do, don't go anywhere. Want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor here on 76ers Now, and that is our good friends over at DraftKings. All your favorite NBA players are back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is the place to bet on NBA stars this season. New customers, bet just $5 and get 3 months of NBA League Pass, plus score $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SixersChat. That's code SixersChat. Bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass, plus get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. NBA League Pass auto renews until canceled. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. These are the picks I'm rocking with for the Sixers-Celtics game here tonight on Tuesday. Sixers are 1.5-point favorites. I'll be taking the Sixers on the spread there to win by 1.5 against Boston. Then give me Trendon Watford, of course, the topic of today's show, 4+ assists. I think he can hit that number pretty easily. And then give me Tyrese Maxey, 30+ points. I don't think there's anybody on Boston. Really not many players in the league at this point that can guard Tyrese Maxey. You parlay those 3 picks together, plus 465 odds if you want to tail my picks, of course. All odds and lines are subject to change. Big shout out to DraftKings for sponsoring today's show. So I mentioned Watford, that performance from him against Toronto, a pretty standout and unique performance. He is one of only 4 NBA players this season. Now, early season, right? We're sitting here in November, but an impressive list to be on. Players this year who have scored 20+ points, grabbed 15+ rebounds, and dished out 10+ assists in a game. Only 4 guys. Jokic, of course, has done this. Josh Giddey, who's had a great start to the year, did this. Russell Westbrook had a throwback type of performance for the Kings the other night. He had a big game, and he accomplished these stats. And then it's Trendon Watford in there as well. So just kind of put in perspective how insane that performance was from Trendon Watford. And to take it even a step further, when you talk about Sixers history, shout out to Philly Sixers Galaxy on X or Twitter for this one. Players in the Sixers franchise history to record at least 20+ points, 15+ rebounds, 10+ assists in a game, and shoot at least 80% from the field in that game. Watford was 8 of 10. Wilt did that 7 times because, of course, he did. And then Trendon Watford, the only other player to do that in Sixers history, became just the 6th player in NBA history to record such a stat line. a phenomenal game from him. And when you take a look as well at some of Watford's advanced numbers on the year, this is, again, just kind of speaks to his unique skill set from his position, where he offers something that not a lot of other players can offer with that size. Some of his advanced numbers this season. And these percentile rankings you see here, of course, the higher you are in the percentile ranking, the better it is. This is compared to other players at his position. So not everybody in the NBA, but just forwards at that spot. His assist percentage, 25%, 92nd percentile. His assist to usage ratio, basically, when he's on the floor, how often that he has the ball is he getting an assist, 97th percentile. His points per shot attempt, basically how efficient are you, 86th percentile. He's shooting 62% in the mid-range. That's 91st percentile. And his effective field goal percentage, which takes some three-pointers into the account as well, 76th percentile. So from the eye test, from the regular numbers, from the advanced numbers, we've gone through kind of all of those. He has just had a tremendous season. And again, you're talking about a player here on a minimum contract for the next 2 seasons. Just a great job by Daryl Morey to identify a player who had a skill set that fit this team and go out and get that player. Now, an interesting topic of conversation here, right? Because as we talk about Trendon Watford, of course, he has been starting the past few games, going back to that Raptors game, his first start. He fits well in that starting lineup. But on the horizon, we don't know when yet, Paul George will be returning soon. And, that spot, last spot in the starting lineup, you have to imagine is Paul George's. At least it was intended to be Paul George's spot in the lineup with Maxey, Edgecombe, Oubre, and Embiid. So what happens with that spot when Paul George does return? Do you just replace Watford in the starting lineup with Paul George, have Watford come off the bench? I think he can still make an impact, of course, coming off the bench, but do you want to mess up sort of the rhythm and the groove he's found? Playing next to Embiid in that game on Saturday, that skill set, a little bit different than Paul George's, right? Obviously, Paul George, a more dynamic offensive player in terms of scoring the ball from the outside, but Watford offering more as a playmaker, as a rebounder. So, do you just say, Paul George, you're coming off the bench? Do you move Kelly Oubre to the bench? I have a hard time seeing Philadelphia actually bringing Paul George off the bench. So I imagine either Watford or potentially Oubre will move to the bench. But Oubre's been so good as well this season, right? Shooting nearly 40% from 3. So it's a tough conversation. It's a good problem to have, right? We talk about the Sixers now having all this depth and all this talent. It's a good problem to have. I do imagine, though, Paul George gets inserted in the starting lineup. You bring Watford off the bench, but just because you're coming off the bench doesn't mean you can't make an impact. I'm sure he still will. Got to give a lot of credit to Daryl Morey here, right? We've talked a lot about the player and his skill set, and obviously giving a lot of credit to Watford for how well he has played, but this is also a video about Daryl Morey. I know, very controversial. Some people like him, some people don't. He's generally been a better drafter than he has been in free agency, but again, just a great job by Daryl here to look at a player who wasn't getting a lot of interest in the open market, right? Somebody who was playing with the Brooklyn Nets last year, not on a winning team. How does that translate his play last year to your squad? But he did a great job of identifying the talent, identifying the skill set, saying this is the kind of player that could actually really help us, right? And a lot of people were upset the Sixers let Gershon Yabusele go. I think Watford can make even more of an impact than Gershon did for the Sixers last season. And again, he's on a minimum contract. So big props to Morey on this one. Obviously, he has his faults and he makes his mistakes, as every GM does. But this was a great job by him. And shout out to Tyrese Maxey as well, because I'm sure him being boys with Watford had a little bit to do with this signing as well. But just a steal of a free agency addition here for Daryl Morey. All right, we talked about the possibility of bringing Watford off the bench once Paul George does return. I want you to chime in on that debate. I've already seen some people in the comment section and, of course, on Sixers Twitter having this debate. Should Watford continue to start once Paul George returns? Type S for start, type B for bench, and, of course, you can defend your reasoning down in the comment section. That'll do it for today's show. If you made it to the end of the video, hopefully that means you did enjoy. If you did, I encourage you to hit that sub button for more Sixers coverage like this almost every single day and all year round. And one last reminder, we will be live tonight on the channel. Show starts 7:45 p.m. Eastern for a watch party. 76ers versus Celtics. Lock us in and hit that sub button. Turn on your notifications, and hopefully we'll see you later tonight.